Hi everybody, I'm Chris, I'm an addict, and I have been given the privilege to, actually what I was meant to do was give you a live broadcast from South Africa on Saturday, but unfortunately I'm at another recovery course, training course in the southern suburbs of Cape Town. Really an amazing place. It's a place where there is many underprivileged people and many people suffering with addiction. And so I've chosen, I'm sorry, to be there, but I've also, Nigel, the great news is I am sending a message in recording, so that's what I'm going to do here. I cannot tell you how much this course has done for me. I am in 40 years of recovery. I've been working the 12-step program, but when I went into initially the AA program and into rehab, I had no idea what the 12-step program was. This course has not only enlightened me to what the recovery course is, but also what the 12-step program is and how it works through a higher power. I was atheist, I became agnostic during the 12-step program, and then I had an amazing awakening, which I then came to understand who my higher power is, and that was Jesus Christ. But this course has taken me on a whole new journey, not only for myself, but I have seen miraculous healing on a daily basis as I run this course that is just beyond the ability of any human being. It is the most incredible experience of the love and the spiritual truth that Jesus brings to the healing of an addict. And for me, that you have chosen to do this program and bring it into the communities that need it really is a massive commitment, but the rewards are massive for you, huge. But the biggest thing is to see God working on each person in each course and how they change over an incredibly short period of time in relative terms to their addiction. That they see it, they see that they're loved, they understand what's happened to them, and the belief that there is something that loves them unconditionally over and greater than the power that was controlling them through their addiction. So for me, I really encourage you to go out into your groups and run the course and allow God to do it. Set it up, set up the groups, set up the videos, set up the dinners that people have when they arrive. Welcome them in and make them feel that it's okay to be here and to know that they're understood. And it's a brave, brave thing to walk into a meeting that they're wondering if they're going to be judged. I know with my first meeting that I went to of Narcotics Anonymous, I thought everybody was looking at me because I was looking at them. I judged everybody in the room because I thought they all looked really weird. In fact, they all looked like loonies. And I found out I was a loony too. And you know what? That's great, because I became part of a community that I didn't know existed. And I didn't realize how much I could identify with them and they with me. I had something to offer as much as they had to me. And so what I'm going to say to you now is that when you do the course and you run it in your communities and it comes to the time of the groups, try not to be the person who knows all the answers, because it doesn't give God the opportunity to speak. If you're constantly answering all the questions that are coming up, it doesn't really, it's about you, not about God. You have to now stand in as the instrument that God is going to use now to allow you to speak, and He speak through you to give the answers to some of these questions that are going to come up. So I always have, in training, have always used the example that Nicky Gumbel used to use with a ball. And he used to sit there and give the example of the ball being the conversation and the question. And he used to throw, I used to ask them to throw the ball back at me when I threw it to them. They throw it back to me, and I throw it to somebody else, and they threw it back to me. All that's happening is that is representing the questions just coming to me. He then showed an amazing example of how to take the ball and throw the ball to somebody else, and then somebody else then throw it to another person, and so it goes to the group replying to the questions. It's really important to be able to do that, to allow the group to answer the questions. My first experience of a higher power came when I began to hear something happening in the group that I could not understand. What they were saying came straight here. And it was almost like realizing this is the telephone line to my higher power, of which I found out later how much that was Jesus Christ all the time, even though I didn't recognize him. That's the grace of Jesus Christ. So what I'm doing here, which has been an amazing privilege, I've been able to bring the course that I've been now running for 12 years. I've moved down to the Western Cape, and I've been able to go into the most incredible rehabs, the ones that literally run on the smell of an oil rag. They don't have any money. They sponsor people who need help, who are the poorest of the poor, who have been into places that are just more than you can possibly imagine. Even for me, I did some of the worst things you could imagine, but these guys are dealing with some serious stuff. It's the groups and this course and the communication that we start with this course that has opened up the door to so many people who never thought it was possible to recover from this disease. And they are doing it. The recovery rate through the spiritual part of this course is mind-blowing. The greatest thing is we need to be physically, mentally, and spiritually rebuilt. But the grounding of it is the spiritual side of it. And that's why God has to run the groups. You know, I always used to think in my own ego, oh, I must have at least 250 people in my group. What a load of rubbish. I used to go right down to just when I first started with 5 people. And if one person in those 5 people healed, that was the purpose of this course. And the same goes with if you have a lot of people. If it's only one person who is healed from that, that is what was meant to happen. And you have to let go of that, because it's not about us. It's about God's healing of this horrific, devastating disease. That only He can do this through love and understanding. And the people I've got behind me are part of a class that I'm working for now in Kraaifontein, in a place called Lofdale. And Lofdale in itself is based completely on recovery of addiction from all angles. They have every possible facility for men and for women, for trafficked women, for women with children, for abused and abandoned women, abandoned babies. It goes on, but all of it is related to addiction, all of it. And that has grown by the understanding of the healing through Jesus Christ. This course is an amazing tool to help people understand that and see it and live life free from addiction. And so I just wish you all the very best going forward with the course. It is the best thing that's ever happened. I just tell you that one time, I'm going to tell you before I stop, I had groups, and we always set out the groups about who was going to be running what group. And then I had 5 people who were sex addicts, and I didn't have anybody to lead it. So I rang up Nigel. I said, hey, Nigel, listen, I've got all the groups sorted out, but I don't have somebody to run the sex addicts group who would understand that addiction. And Nigel said, no, don't worry about that. You run it. And I said, are you sure that it's going to be okay? He said, no, you run it. You'll be amazed what you learn. So I thought, well, that's an interesting thing. Anyway, I then start off the group, and we start off with the conversation like I would with any other group. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these guys with the subject we're on for that week. And I'm suddenly hearing them talk about stuff that I'm really identifying with. And I'm listening to how they're talking about sex and pornography. And I'm going, yeah, but what's wrong with that? You know, I'm just a guy. But the more I heard what they were saying, I realized not only did I have drugs and alcohol addiction, I had sex addiction. And it was only from this course did I realize my sex addiction. And then from that did I realize what it came from, which was a sexual abuse I had when I was the age of 7, of the warped thoughts that I thought was love. In fact, it was just physical connection. I was incredibly vulnerable when that happened when I was 7. But then I realized that I had taken that into my addiction to fulfill something that I thought I needed to feel better about me, and not realizing the damage I'd done. And that came from the recovery course. I know, and I see it every day, the freedom this gives so many people every day is mind-blowing. That they could talk freely. I've just had one of the ladies here talk about everything that had happened to her past. That she was raped, that she was a lesbian or is a lesbian, that she has taken huge amounts of drugs. And she talks about it freely. And how she's how she's addicted to sex and pornography. Like me, that to me is the breakthrough. That to me is the breakthrough of not having the shame and guilt to keep it quiet anymore, and to be set free from the bondage of that guilt, of that fear. A fear of who we might be. And the moment we get through this course, it gives us the freedom that Jesus promises us the whole time. So I'd like to just say thank you, best of luck, and I hope you have the most amazing training day, and I hope that in Jesus' name that your course, wherever you run it, would not only be a huge success to that one person who might be there, but also that you're going to learn so much more about you. And with that, I'm going to just ask everybody behind me to wish you all the best and say, best of luck. Good luck!